Hi everyone. Gender identity politics in a nutshell. So what it's all about. 101. Basically, it is all about what the trans rights movement and the gender identity politics movement are trying to do. Is they're trying to redefine the meaning of woman. This is what it all comes down to, and this is where it all fucking wells up from. What it all hinges from is their attempt to redefine woman without women's consent, by the way, which is why radical feminists or any real feminist, or really I think any woman should have an issue with it, is because we weren't consulted on this. We weren't consulted or asked for permission, or even most women aren't even aware that this is happening, that they are trying to redefine the definition of woman to go from meaning adult human female, which is what it has always meant, to now meaning a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman is a woman. So they can have a beard, they can have a fucking, they can be 6'6" with a beard and a fucking dick, and if they say that they feel like a woman on the inside, they're a woman. That's what these people are trying to bring in. And the scary thing is they're actually having they've actually had a certain level of success thus far in terms of getting this definition enshrined within sort of, maybe not laws, but yeah, some laws in some country, within getting it enshrined within, the Equality Act and government fucking, human rights, government, acts and bills and laws, etc. Without the majority of people realising that they're doing this, without the majority of people realising that, even being aware of it. And the reason for that is obviously because of the aggressive silencing campaign they've waged all the way along, and because they tend to Mason Davis, who's their CEO, the law division of one of I think it's the American trans rights lobby. I'll put the YouTube link in the description, but he's been self-admits that they deliberately fly under the radar when they're trying to implement policy change, etc. So the less people know about what they're sneakily slipping in there, the better, because that's when they get their biggest gains, because if people realised or were aware of what the actual changes that they're trying to bring in are, and also of what the deeper ramifications of these changes, well, then people would arc up and people would object, right? Which is why the silencing, why the turfdom, why all of that sort of shit, why the turf buckle lists, why the demonisation of anyone that speaks out against it, is because they rely on the general public not being fully aware of the realities of the movement. So anyways, the realities of the movement, I digress. Back to the core. They're trying to redefine the definition of woman from meaning adult human female to anyone who identifies as a woman is a woman. Anyone who asks questions about this or wants clarification is threatened with, being ostracised or slurred or verbally attacked and called, a transphobe or a TERF, etc., which is a trans-exclusionary radical feminist. That term, that slur, is usually applied to, usually directed at, well, radical feminists in particular, but anyone who challenges or questions the regime and the narrative that they're trying to promote is, basically you'll get called a TERF or a transphobe, because to question is just, that's absolutely fucking, taboo. You're not allowed to ask questions. If you do, it means you're a transphobe. Anyways, so what most people don't realise is that, they're painting it to be all sort of all nice and warm and fuzzy, and, it's not going to affect anyone. It just means it'll make life easier for a few little dudes who, were born in the wrong body, so to speak, which is a load of bullshit, basically, because the actual ramifications of this are huge. And radical feminists mostly, there's quite a few who have been screaming into the void about this and being called fucking TERFs, being doxed, losing jobs, when we say doxed, what the TRAs will do when they dox a woman is they will try to find out, and if she's been doxed, and they have done, they'll find out her address, where she works, what she does for a living, and then they'll target her employers, start complaining, saying, you're aware that this person, is transphobic, guilty of hate speech, they'll try to get her fired, and more often than not they have done in the past, got these women fired. They will threaten the woman with, we know where you live. They'll publicly, put it up publicly on their web pages and shit, which is, they'll put threats. Rosa Freedman, she's an academic I think she works at Bristol or Leeds University in the UK. She got doxxed, and basically, like, for the last many months, several months, like 4 months or so, she has been coming into her office to find out quite often that the trans activists have pissed out the front of it, pissed on her door. They've left death threats, rape threats, all kinds of shit every single fucking day in, day out, for months, because she maintained that women are biologically different to men. So any male-born person with a penis, male-bodied person who says he's a woman, is not going to be, is not a woman. Like, she's just, she's basically like asserted reality, and she's getting punished for it still. They haven't been able to get her fired yet, but it's not for lack of trying. Dockstock, fuck, was it him? Oh yeah. So this is the sort of shit that they'll pull in order to, like, force anyone that's asking questions or resisting into capitulation, and it's been very, very effective. But anyways, the ramifications or the implications of changing the definition of woman from being an adult human female to a feeling in the head, like, are just, they're huge. It's basically they has the power to undo every single fucking lot of rights and fucking, like, rights and advances that we women have, or that feminists have fucking fought and fucking died to gain, will be undone by doing this. If you change woman from a biological reality, as in, like, we are 51% of the human population, we are the female of the human species, we're the ones, capable of producing ova, which, are capable of, like, bearing the young, basically, we're the female of the species, right? Changing that to mean anyone that feels like a woman means that, A, it's a feeling in the head, so therefore it's not, like, you don't have tangible evidence or tangible proof or indicators to show whether someone is a woman or not, if it's just going to be what they say, which means that there's not going to be any, gatekeeping anymore for any of the women's spaces that we've, like, women-only spaces that we've fought to gain. For example, like rape refuges. So a woman's just been multiply fucking gang raped, and she's taking refuge in a rape refuge, right? But she could be like traumatized to the point where the sight of any male-bodied people would put her into, like, post-traumatic stress, and yet, and this has happened so far already, thanks to a particularly nefarious piece of shit cockwomble in fucking Canada, Morgaine, and I won't say the last name, but, think Shrek. Anyways, this wanker has actually managed to get a rape refuge shut down for being transphobic, for being exclusionary of, trans women. So basically this rape refuge has said, no, we don't want anyone with dicks in our refuge because the women here don't want to be around them. And this fucking wanker has had them shut down because they're excluding trans women. Now, what most people don't realise is that 85% of trans women, they don't undergo any kind of, like, genital reassignment or sexual reassignment surgery. 85% of them keep their dicks quite happily. They have no intention of getting rid of them. So what it'll do, yeah. The other thing is, okay, so if it's no longer a biological reality that you're basing, whether someone's a woman or not, on, when we're in change rooms at, like, say, the swimming pools and shit, I could be there with my 3 or 4-year-old daughter, and I do come in with, like, 6 foot whatever, with a beard, fucking his cock hanging out. He could even be there, like, touching his cock, with a heart on, and he could be right next to us getting changed with my little girl there. And if we, like, having a problem with that, we're going to be the ones that get called bigots, and he's going to be the one that's going to be able to, like, say, arc up and, like, register a complaint for, like, harassment against us because we had an issue with him being next to us in the change room, in the women's change room, because he identifies as a woman. Now, you'll find the gender identitarian fucking side, the trans cult side, will go, oh, but you're just saying that means not every trans person is fucking, going to take advantage of this. No, they're not, mate. But what we're saying is that when you remove the gatekeeping, there's a lot of predatory men out there who will take advantage of this. And if you don't think that's the reality, then you're fucking kidding yourself, mate. Put some glasses on your intellect. Wake the fuck up. If you can't see that, oh my God. What the fuck, how do you even breathe and tie your shoelaces at the same time if you're that fucking stupid? Seriously, wake up. The other ways that it will impact is in the UK, all women shortlists, this is where they've actually allocated certain positions in the UK within positions of power within government, within politics, etc., that are reserved just for women. Something 5 or whatever a year in certain areas, and now they're being filled by trans women. So they're being filled by dudes with dicks are getting into the places that were meant to be reserved for women. Now that's just seriously and then that's just gonna the patriarchy's just loving that shit. They get to be seen as all woke and progressive, yeah we're being great, but they know that they're also managing to keep women out of fucking positions of power, which is what the all women shortlist were meant to sort of try and help abolish, or help address. These dudes are they're laughing, man. Fucking yeah, hey, look, this little fucking 19-year-old, Nirvana fucking front singer wannabe, I'm not going to say his name, right, but he looks a bit like Kurt Cobain. I'm sorry, Kurt. But in terms of personality, this dude is a narcissistic, entitled, privileged, misogynistic, self-centered, nasty little prat, right? And he's been serving as a woman's officer for a political party in the UK, peak transing people by thousands, but at the same time, why? Could you really imagine? Could you imagine a woman being, even a 19-year-old girl being fucking put into a position where she's the women's party officer, like a 19-year-old chick? No. The only reason this dude's there is because it's just the fucking virtue signaling, fucking woke bullshit, man. And then he's got in and started a witch hunt to fucking basically get women who are gender critical, women who basically are questioning the narrative that allows this little fuckhead with his dick to be calling himself a woman, right? He's started a witch hunt and got all these women kicked out of the fucking political party, and a few of them have lost their jobs. He's like Hieronymus Bosch, man. He's like the Witchfinder General for fucking modern day. And it's just fucking ridiculous that this dude is not being pulled up or called out or held accountable. But nah, apparently just hating on women's okay these days. Anyways, what else? How else will it affect it? Sports. Okay, so you remove the definition of woman as adult human female and you make it anyone that identifies as a woman, then you're going to get dudes who identify as women, haven't been able to cut it in the male fucking sports, identifying as women and dominating the women's sports. It's already happening. Hannah Mossy in fucking women's AFL in Australia. You think that Laurel fucking Hubbard or whatever dickhead dude, weightlifter, that I think actually that one had to retire, and so he should have, fucking cheating little shit. There's also, and I'll put a link to it in the description because I can't remember the names of these dudes, but there was in terms of female boxing, there was the world champion, and she went up against a dude who was formerly male but is identifying as women. They had a fight. She got he shattered her skull, and he fucking she had to get stitches, shattered skull, a couple of cracked bones and shit. And yeah, nah, it was a travesty. In the USA, in a lot of schools where there's trans girls in high school and shit, they've started working out or trying out and running for track teams, etc. in athletics. They're dominating, funnily, surprise, surprise, and there's also this, I'm not going to say this one's name either because they're a cockwomble basically, but there's a dude who we affectionately known as the Cyclopath, who is current world champion of women's cycling. Yeah, nah. Anyways, I'll put some links there. You can look into that one on your own. I'm done talking about that fuckwit. I'm just glad they've picked trans as many people as they have. But anyway, so as you can see, there are a multitude of fucking deeper or greater fucking implications and ramifications of changing what the definition of woman is. And the people who are going to get negatively impacted the most by these changes are adult human females and girls, women and girls, like real women and girls. And the more that but anytime we object or we like speak out about it, we're just getting dismissed as TERFs and shit. We're getting silenced on Twitter for hate speech if we type or maintain the truth, which is women don't have dicks. It's just fucking ludicrous, mate. Anyways, I'm just gonna leave it there because I know I've just talked on for like 20 minutes. So.